La 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 la, la 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 la, la la la, la la la, la la la. I heard that melody and I couldn't get it out of my head. In my sleep, still can't get it out. I love it. It's healing me. I'm sure it's healing me. La 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 la, la 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 la, la la la, la la la, la la la. One more time. La 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 la, la 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 la, la la la, la la la, la la la. Beloved maiden, sweet Bridget, you are the spring and new life for this world. Men may defile you, woman may banish you, but you cannot be removed from the soil. La 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 la, la 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 la, la la la, la la la, la la la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la, la la la, la la la. There was a moment you could not bear it all, and your tears fell to earth for what you saw. And on that hallowed ground there grew a fruit tree, with Eden's fruit brought to light through your tears. La 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 la, la 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 la, 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 la 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 la, la la la, la la la, la la la. Oh, wise midwife, threshold keeper, there's a harsh, bitter cold in these times, but in your tender heart there lives a beauty. It's the gold that fills the cracks where we divide. La 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 la, la 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 la, 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 la 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 la, la la la, la la la. Beloved maiden, sweet Bridget, you are the spring and new life in my veins.
Good evening and welcome to All Souls Interfaith Gathering for our Music and Spirit service for Sunday, June the 14th. I'm Reverend Don Chatfield, lead pastor here at All Souls, and it is my delight to welcome you virtually to this service this evening. I'd like to share with you just a few opportunities to remain connected with All Souls during this time, and the first takes place on Tuesday evening. We have a group called Our Search for Meaning that has been meeting on Sunday mornings, but beginning this Tuesday, the meeting time is changing to 7 p.m., and that meeting does take place on Zoom, so we invite you to visit our website to find a link and to learn more about the group. Our men's group meets on Thursday evening at 6 p.m. There's also a place on our website where you can write to request more information about joining that group. Next Sunday morning, we're very excited that we will be returning to live meditation here at All Souls at 9 a.m. And we are limiting attendance to 25 people. We will be holding the meditation session outside, and so you'll need to register if you're planning to be here in person. Registration will go live on Wednesday morning, and you can do that either on our website or by calling the office phone. So please remember, first come, first serve, if you'd like to come to meditation at 9 to make that registration. Now, we are planning to hold a second meditation at 10:30 in the event that we completely fill up or overfill the 9 o'clock time. So we look forward to seeing you here. We will be practicing social distancing and other safe practices to make sure we stay healthy. Next Sunday is also Father's Day, and the Music and Spirit service for June 21st is focused on persistent commitment. And so we'll be exploring the role of commitment in our spiritual journey. This evening's theme continues to take a look at how we grow spiritually, and we'll be looking at living in compassion. As you know, this month we're taking a look at how we can grow beloved community here at All Souls. So tonight we'll be looking at what role compassion plays in that. We're delighted to have a special guest musician with us this evening, Reverend Simon DeVoyle. Simon is an ordained interfaith minister. He's also a talented musician and a retreat leader, and he has been kind enough to donate his music to our service this evening. As we come to the time for our opening words, I'd like to invite you to join me in a spirit of contemplation. These words come to us from the Dalai Lama. When we are concerned mainly with our own interests, inevitably we tend to neglect others' interests. Because of this, preoccupation with our own interests, our own narrow desires, ambitions, and goals undermines our ability to be compassionate. And since compassion is the source of happiness, self-centeredness prevents us from attaining that spiritual peace of heart and peace of mind, which is the principal characteristic of lasting happiness. Conversely, the more we concern ourselves with providing for others' well-being, the more meaningful our lives become, and the happier we ourselves will be.
Sing along with your hands. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. And when I'm at home, I sing it like this. You are the face of dog, because I love my dog. I hold you in my heart. I sing this to her when I'm giving her supper. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. One more time. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
Hi everyone, it's Reverend Kimmery Glenn, and our chalice lighting this evening is actually a favorite quote of one of our young congregants. His name is Thomas Schramm. It gives me great hope when he told me that this was his favorite quote, the compassion that fills his heart, hope for our future. So this is the words of Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." So I light this candle to symbolize the light and the love that we bring to darkness and that we bring love to hatred, so that all comes together. And we do that as a community together, inspired by each other, our light and our love.
Lord, make me a channel of your peace. Grant that I can see through my human pain and still feel loved. In the darkness, let light be found in there. I need light to find me here. Lord, make me a channel of your peace. We all need to learn to forgive a few more 100 times. Melt our hatred, let love take roots in our hearts. Lord, make me a channel of your peace. And through my own pain and need, I will learn to understand. Reach through our sorrow, let it be joy. Oh, let it be joy. Lord, make me a channel of peace in my life.
Over the past few months of being in quarantine, you may have had an experience of finding it more difficult to be compassionate. After all, we've all been dealing with new routines. We have been seeing our family members, in some cases, much more or much less. We've had, for many of us, less frequent contact, at least in person, with friends or coworkers. There's been so much change swirling about, so much uncertainty, that our ability to be compassionate may be stretched. And during the past 2 weeks, as we have experienced this national crisis about racism, Tensions have raised even further. I've experienced conflicts with old friends and former colleagues with different viewpoints, and compassion can seem to be in short supply. So this evening, we're here to think about how do we build beloved community, and what is the role in compassion to build that community. And I'd like to think about this in terms of concentric circles. So first, I'd like to begin with a spiritual understanding that compassion must begin with you. Just outside of the sanctuary doors here at All Souls, there's a poster showing all of the different expressions from many faith traditions of what is commonly referred to as the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, expressed in many different ways. And this is a fundamental underlying teaching across all of the world's great wisdom traditions. It's truly part of the perennial tradition. So, have you ever noticed that there is a prerequisite for that rule to actually work? I served for many years as a therapist, and during that time I had the opportunity to work with a number of clients who had experienced significant trauma in their lives. And as we worked together to recognize and address and overcome that trauma, guess who was the person that was the very most difficult to forgive? The person most difficult to extend compassion toward. If you guessed yourself, that's correct. In fact, one of the hardest exercises that my clients often struggled with was the assignment to go home, to look into a mirror, to look deeply into your own eyes, and to say to yourself, I love you. I accept you just as you are. Because you see, if we do not hold compassion toward ourselves, if we don't hold ourselves in loving regard, if we don't treat ourselves as if we treasure ourselves, how can we extend that same compassion to others? Again, the Golden Rule states, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if we are so accustomed to not treating ourselves well in terms of severe judgments and negative self-talk and constant criticism, often that's what comes out in our relationships with others. So it's so important in our spiritual practice to develop compassion beginning with ourselves. If you're familiar with the Buddhist practice of metta meditation, that's spelled M-E-T-T-A, metta meditation, it always starts with extending loving kindness to ourselves, cultivating well-being and peace and happiness within, and then moving outward. So as we think about these concentric circles tonight, it's so important for us to recognize and practice self-compassion. How do we practice more self-compassion? There are many different ways. Part of it, I believe, is by becoming more conscious and aware of our thoughts, about how we think about and react to ourselves, and also becoming aware of both our strengths and our weaknesses, and accepting both. And there are many different programs ranging from 12-step programs to nonviolent communication tools to mindfulness meditation that can help us develop a practice of extending compassion toward ourselves. So that's where we need to begin. Once that circle is cared for, we're ready to begin thinking about compassion growing outward into our community. So as we grow stronger in our practice of self-compassion, we're better able to practice compassion among others. And what better place to do so than in our spiritual community? I think you can look at All Souls as a laboratory where we can experiment with many different ways to express compassion to one another in meaningful ways. So what is the very most important and powerful way to practice compassion? I believe that it is doing something that doesn't involve us saying a single word, but just being there and listening. In the Society of Friends, or Quaker tradition, there's a very powerful tool called the Clearness Committee. And at a Quaker meeting, a member who is facing a difficult situation or a hard decision can put together a clearness committee of other members within that meeting and bring to them a difficult issue they're dealing with. Now, in this tradition, there are very specific rules about how this happens. There are specific amounts of time in the meeting, and what I've experienced a couple of these, and what's particularly powerful about them is the person who is dealing with difficulty, having a hard time making a decision, has plenty of time to talk. And the other members in the spiritual committee are there listening very deeply. It's a form of sacred listening. And when the committee members do speak, they don't offer advice, they don't try to solve the problem. What they do is they offer questions. And these questions are designed to help the person who is working through this situation to go deeper into an understanding of some of the root causes or options. And it's amazing to watch this process as it unfolds, because the person who's seeking assistance is nurtured in this safe, compassionate place with others who are holding the very best intention for the outcome of the situation. And then when the meeting ends, they walk out and there's an agreement that the matter is never spoken about again unless that person brings it up subsequently. So what a wonderful model for us to practice compassion in community. Deep listening and insightful questions. Now, you might have noticed that our Blueprint 2020 process built in plenty of time for us to listen to what you're looking for in your spiritual community. Whether it was the online survey or the forums with the potlucks or the focus groups, our planning process was really about holding a compassionate place to hear what our needs are and our dreams for the future of All Souls. And we answered questions that were designed to take us deeper. Now, you might have noticed that in a spiritual community, as individuals, we may often have different desires. We may have different tastes in music. We might have different styles of meditation or prayer that are meaningful to us. We might even have different spiritual or theological viewpoints. But coming together to listen respectfully and lovingly, and being willing to ask questions and to hear the other, helps us move past our position needing to be right and finding a way that we can move forward together. And we're about to see that same opportunity unfold here as we have some limited attendance gatherings, and there are all kinds of different viewpoints about what's safe and prudent during the pandemic. Can we come together as a community in compassion, committed most of all to loving and caring for the other? Once we have worked on that inner concentric circle, extending loving kindness, compassion, care to ourselves, and we've developed the ability to extend and receive compassion from people within our own spiritual community, we're ready to move out onto a bigger stage. We're ready to share with the world this compassion that brings so much happiness to our lives. So I wonder, I'm still getting to know Vermont and this community, is All Souls known for its compassion? As we worked on Blueprint 2020, we developed a list of desired character traits. And these are traits that we hope to achieve both within our community as well as to foster in the broader society. And one of those traits that we agreed upon during the process is compassion. So let me read the language from Blueprint 2020. It says this: as members of the All Souls Interfaith community, we aspire to embody these character traits and to cultivate them in society. And one of these traits is compassion, meaning our presence, our words, and our actions reflect a deep compassion for those who are facing difficult situations. So is All Souls known as a compassionate community? And how can we strengthen that reputation? How can we demonstrate compassion to Shelburne and Greater Burlington and beyond? Well, to begin with, of course, we need to cultivate compassion toward ourselves and one another, and then drawing from that strength, we can express compassion in our communities. And I'm just going to name off a few ideas about how we as a community can do that. Some of them we are already engaged in. So you can contribute money to buy sandwich makings for the Committee on Temporary Shelter. And when we are able to meet again to prepare food, you can prepare time to help assemble those sandwiches, expressing compassion to those experiencing homelessness. Or you can donate clothing or volunteer time or money to the Treasure Store operated by the Shelburne-Charlotte-Heinsberg Interfaith Project, a store that generates money that is used to help those in need across our region. Or you have the opportunity later this summer to get involved with a new group that's about to start at All Souls called the Order of the Sacred Earth, a group devoted to expressing compassion and care for Mother Earth, caring for the environment. Or as a congregation, we may wish to become a member of the Charter for Compassion, joining other spiritual communities and cities across the nation and around the world in a commitment to living compassionately. And of course, in our day-to-day lives, we can be there for our neighbors, our co-workers, people we see at the store, being there and listening in a time of need. Those are just a few of many opportunities we as a spiritual community can engage in to demonstrate and live out this compassion into our community and beyond. Now, our opening words this evening were from the Dalai Lama, and they came from his call to compassion. I'd like to read to you the remainder of that passage now. The Dalai Lama said this: "This is not to suggest that we all become full-time charity workers. What is more helpful and practical is that we become full-time workers of charity in the sense of kindness and compassion toward all others. As we do so, we will discover that ultimately there is no sharp distinction between our interests and the interests of others. We all desire and appreciate affection, forbearance, truth, justice, and peace. And these are all both contained within and the fruits of compassion. In helping others, we provide for our own happiness because happiness is not, we find, an end in itself. Rather, it is a byproduct of those actions that we take for the benefit of others. Thus, in serving others, we serve ourselves. This is why I sometimes call compassion wise selfishness. Compassion entails exercising restraint and disciplining our negative thoughts and emotions out of a sense of responsibility toward all others. Yet alongside kindness, generosity, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, humility, and so on, these are the very things that happiness consists in. Compassion makes us happy. So it's my prayer that as we go forward into this week, we find that deep and satisfying happiness that comes from living compassionately. Blessings.
The earth gives way, the mountains move into the sea, the nations rage. God holds it all. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that Be still and know that Be still and know Be still and be still. Be still and know that I am love. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that Be still and know that Be still and know Be still and be still, be
Hi everyone, it's time for our prayers and meditations. So you can light a candle if you want to, or begin to just get into your place where you want to do your meditation and prayer. And I'd love to start us off with a quote by mystic poet Rumi. He said, "Step out of the circle of time and into the circle of love." And that's really what this meditation is going to be about this evening. So we're going to actually step out of time and we're going to step into love. And that begins with the love of the self, compassion for the self, so then we can then give it to others. So if you want to begin, sometimes it's helpful if you want to put your hands on your heart or whatever feels good for you to give compassion to yourself. That's where we'll begin. So you can close your eyes, begin to tune in to yourself and what's going on for yourself. Noticing your breath. Noticing anything physical that may be going on in your body, so doing a quick body scan. Noticing anything emotional that may be going on inside of you. Noticing how your heart is. If there's anything you're holding in your heart. And when you're ready, you can start to bring compassion to your body, to your emotions, to your heart, to your spirit. So allow yourself to talk to yourself as if you were praying for yourself. What do you need right now to really feel like you're being held in compassion for yourself? We can start just by bringing those prayers to the self. You can do it quietly or out loud, whatever feels good. What do you need to hear and feel from yourself? And you can keep going if you want to keep going. If you need to keep getting filled up, that's okay. Keep filling yourself up. If you want to widen your circle of compassion, you're going to start bringing other people in that you love. So imagine this circle of love, getting bigger, bringing in people, maybe groups that need more compassion, that need more love. And I said, step out of the circle of time. So we can even go back in time, thinking of groups that may need past healing. So past compassion that they never got. So bringing in love, compassion across time, imagining all of that being brought into the circle and praying together. Again, out loud or to yourself. And extending our circle even more if you're ready, when you're ready, to groups that maybe you even have a hard time, maybe people that you struggle with, maybe there's a lot of different oppositions going on in the world right now, maybe bringing in something that you're feeling resistant for. How can we bring compassion to things that don't feel like we even connect to them, or we feel so different and opposed? So just noticing what happens in that bigger circle of compassion when you start to bring in other things that aren't as close to your own heart. Just take a moment to notice, and also give compassion to yourself if you feel resistance. That's okay. Just noticing, oh, I have great resistance to bringing them into my circle of compassion. So taking a moment to bring in things that are in opposition or you don't feel as close to, maybe people or groups or something that's happening in the world, seeing if we can bring compassion into that too. Bring them into the circle. Noticing whatever happens, resistance, bringing the compassion back to ourselves if we need to. And while you're doing that, I'm going to read a quote by Pema Chodron. She says, "Compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between equals. Only when we know our own darkness can we be present with the darkness of others. Only when we know our own darkness, we can be present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity." So even those things that were hard to bring in, just noticing if there's anything that are shared, if there's any connections. And part of our compassion is, of course, being compassionate for the dark parts of ourselves. You know, as this amazing time of people coming into terms with even the racist parts of themselves. You may be finding different parts of yourself opening up and seeing different parts of yourself. So just having compassion for all of it, for these times, for the people that open the doors. Thank you so much for your prayers and widening your circle of compassion. I hope we can continue to, as a community, continue to widen it till it is a part of everything together. And we normally talk about donations at this time, so I just want to remind everyone and thank everyone for continuing to bring donations in and continuing to support All Souls in so many different ways, bringing your compassion to the rest of the community, rippling it out. And you can find donation buttons all over our website, and you can also find it down below here. And we have a blessing that we do, so you can join me with this and you can repeat after I say a line. You can repeat it, but you put whatever you want in your hand. It could be money. Since tonight is about compassion, I love to think about it as compassion. Put it into our hearts, and I'll start the line and then you can repeat it. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give. So we can imagine compassion going out to everyone.
This evening, we are delighted to have with us Bill and Nina Regan, who will be sharing with us during our All In Stewardship campaign. And Nina and Bill, it's so good to have you with us tonight. And I'd like to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourselves, what first brought you to All Souls, and how long you've been attending.
So we just moved to Vermont last summer, and so started attending last fall. I consider myself kind of the poster child for interfaith work because my mother was Hindu, my father was Jewish. I attended Episcopalian schools, so I had like a smattering of a lot of different things. And so to me, interfaith work is really, really important. And I'm thrilled to be here at All Souls.
And I would just add to that, you know, when we moved up to Vermont to sort of have what we called a second life, or a life 2.0, and reinvent ourselves, part of that was to restore a balance that was missing in our lives between mind, body, and spirit. So we were looking for an open-minded faith community, and frankly, we thought we'd give All Souls a try, and we're very glad that we did.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Next, we'd like to ask you to share with us what it is about All Souls that particularly resonates with you, and what services or programs are the most important to you.
For me, it started with the buildings and the ground, but I quickly moved beyond that. I mean, that is obviously a stunning foundation, but for me, what matters most is the people and the community. And I partake in many opportunities at All Souls. I do the meditation on Sundays and the music and spirit in the evening. And I've been really lucky to be co-leading the Search for Meaning group as well. So I feel very, very connected to All Souls. And it's that connection that is most important to me.
And I would say for me, it is the community that I found there, welcoming, open-minded, very positive community. And I'm particularly fond of the Sunday 5 o'clock services, particularly the ones that teach me what other faiths have to say about various important issues of faith, but also beyond faith.
Wonderful.
I would echo that. The importance of that synthesis of the major faith traditions is really important to me too.
Great, thank you. Finally, if you would, tell us a little bit about why you choose to support All Souls financially, and what is your greatest hope for the impact your donations will make?
So I think of it as a way of giving back and supporting a community and organization that's been a large part of why I already love Vermont, having been here less than a year. So I'm hugely grateful for that. And my greatest hope is that you know, our contribution will help launch programs or initiatives that translate the spiritual foundation that we're gaining at All Souls and translate that to the right sorts of action that support the larger community.
And I would say, I echo everything Nina said, but for me, it's giving back to and building something that is larger than myself, larger than ourselves, because I want to learn from others, and I found that at All Souls, but would seek more of it. And I want to join with others, as Nina said, to take action in our community and have a greater impact than any of us could have on our own.
Great. Thank you, Bill and Nina, for being present with us this evening, for sharing a little bit about yourselves, and thank you for being part of the All Souls community.
Thank you, Don.
This is Mary Oliver's poem, Wild Geese, set to music by my friend Adam Rowland. You don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Love what it loves. Tell me about despair, and I'll tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the clouds and the clear pebbles of rain are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and deep trees. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean air are coming home again. So whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. Calls you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things, in the family of things. You don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Love what it loves. Love what it loves.
As we move forward into this new week, considering how we as individuals and a spiritual community may develop greater compassion, I'd like to share with you a poem by Juan Felipe Herrera titled At the Crossroads, a Sudden American Poem. And these are our closing words for this evening. Let us celebrate the lives of all as we reflect and pray and meditate on their brutal deaths. Let us celebrate those who marched at night and spoke of peace and chanted Black Lives Matter. Let us celebrate the officers dressed in blue to protect. Let us know the departed as we did not know them before, their faces, bodies, names, what they loved, their words, the stories they often spoke. Before we return to the usual business of our days, let us know their lives intimately. Let us take this moment, and as impossible as it may sound, let us find the beauty in their lives in the midst of their sudden and never imagined vanishing. Let us consider the Dallas shooter What made him? What happened in Afghanistan? What flames burned inside? Who was that man in Baton Rouge with a red t-shirt selling CDs in the parking lot? Who was that man in Minnesota toppled on the car seat with a perforated arm and a continent-shaped flood of blood on his white tee? Who was that man prone and gone by the night pillar of El Centro College in Dallas? This could be the first step in the new evaluation of our society. This could be the first step in all of our lives. As you go into the new week, we wish you many blessings and continued commitment to developing compassion in our lives.